right, let's talk about the coronavirus, because that's the big scary thing that everybody's talking about. Will it kill you? Will you get it? What are your chances of getting it? Should you be worried? Yes, some people should be worried and some should not. The Atlantic just came out with an article saying you're likely to get the coronavirus. How true is this title? It's very true. Matter of fact, they say within 1 year, 70% of the world's population is going to have contact with the new coronavirus, the one that they're talking about. And we need to be specific about this because there are over 400 kinds of coronaviruses. People don't realize that. There are over 400 known kinds. There's even more than is known. The one that they're talking about right now, it's SARS-CoV-2. Does that sound familiar? The first three letters, SARS, SARS, does that sound familiar? What does that stand for? Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. So yes, it is related, it is connected. This is a mutated version of it. It's like version 2.0, something like that. Anyway, it creates this thing, a side effect, a disease, an illness called COVID-19, and that's what's killing people. It's not the actual SARS-CoV-2, it's the COVID-19, but I'll get into that in a minute. So far, the fatality rate is less than 2%, which isn't really that much. It's exponentially lower than most outbreaks that have come out in the last known while. Coronaviruses are similar to the flu virus in that they both have two single strands of RNA. Not that you know what that means or that you care what that means, but it is very similar to the flu virus. Very, very similar. Matter of fact, more people die. A lot more people die. Thousands, 10,000 more times people die of the common flu than the coronavirus. But they don't talk about that in the news because it's not big news. It's not scary. It doesn't make you want to watch the news. It's all about sensationalism nowadays. Anyway, so let's continue on with what the coronavirus really is and should you be worried about it. And where does it come from and what does it do and things like that. There are 4 kinds of coronaviruses that are known to already infect lots of humans, and they basically cause the common cold. Obviously, that doesn't kill you. It just makes you really sick. The ones that kill you, like within days or a week, they don't spread much because they don't have time to spread. You get it, you die. The ones that make you kind of sick, and then you walk around, you hop on a plane, you go around the world, and then you spread it around. The ones that basically cause the cold and the flu, they're the ones that are more dangerous because they spread around to more people. And then there's the kind like the one that's out now, the SARS-CoV-2, which does have a lingering time, so you can spread it around, and then it can kill some people. But who does it kill and why? And that's what we're going to get to in this video. There's actually been lots of corona-type outbreaks over the last while. Remember, SARS, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, is what that stands for. Then there was MERS, the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, the bird flu, and they were picked up from animals, H5N1, for example. But how many people actually died? Only about 1,000 people per disease died, which actually isn't really that much. The common flu, people that go to the hospital, for example. How many people go to hospitals and die of pneumonia? Millions. But they don't make news stories about that. Millions of people die from pneumonia in the hospital, but that's not a pandemic. No, it's this new, it's got to be new. It's got to be the latest, trendiest new thing. Only a couple thousand people have died, but it's like, yes, it's spreading around the world. Yes, people are dying, but I'm going to get to who's dying and why. We're going to get to that in a minute. And yeah, you probably will be affected by it, but just listen. So it is predicted that by the end of this year, over 70%, that's 3/4 of the world's population, will have exposure to COVID-19, and they will have either they'll die, they'll get very sick, or nothing happens at all. Which one are you? So what is a virus? I already talked about this in the last video, but I'll give you a little recap real quick. A virus is not even a living thing. You can't take antibiotics to kill it. And I'm going to get antibiotics in a minute because that makes it worse, and I'll tell you why. NPR just came out with a story about bats in China. I'm actually going to put links to all this below, so if you don't believe me, just go to the links anyway. So NPR just came out with a story, an article about how scientists were studying bats in China. They went to all these caves where the bats were, and they tested them for different diseases, especially like the coronavirus. And what did they find? They found that bats were infected with over 400 different kinds of coronavirus. Then they went to the local towns, because what they did is they saw that there was beer bottles and water bottles and things in the caves where the bats hung out. So people were partying and hanging out in these bat caves. So they went to the local towns where all these people were, where they lived, where these bat caves were, all throughout China. They tested the people. They took blood tests, and they found that a lot of these people had the coronavirus. They had it, but they weren't sick. They had no symptoms. They were fine. So why is it that some of these people are getting sick and dying while others are fine? Well, let's take the H5N1, the bird flu, all right? People got really, really sick. They got extremely ill. A bunch of people died. It had a fatality rate, they say, of around 60%. The H5N1 bird flu had a fatality rate of over 60%. Yet, since 2003, only 455 people have died. The common flu virus kills over 1 million people a year, but you don't hear about that on the news. And what's one of the biggest killers in the world? Heart disease, 18 million people a year. But you don't hear people panicking about that. They're continuing to eat their artery clogging hamburgers and milkshakes and fatty fried foods. That's okay. They accept that. That's okay. But yet 18 million people are dying from heart attacks. Matter of fact, they have a restaurant called the Heart Attack Cafe where you eat the greasiest burgers possible. And many people have actually died in this restaurant. But yet it still exists. People are laughing about it. Think it's great. Pneumonia, the fourth leading cause of death in the world. 3 million deaths in 2016. You don't hear about that on the news, right? Because it's too boring. You go to a hospital for a broken leg, they give you antibiotics, you catch pneumonia, you die. You hear that. It's a common thing. Hospital-caused pneumonia is one of the biggest causes of death in the world, but you don't hear it in the news. It's very, very common. I'm sure you might even know somebody that died that way. But it's not big news like the coronavirus. So what is a virus? Well, a virus is not even a living thing, because what people do when they get sick, they think they should just take antibiotics, right? What do people do when they hear about stuff like that? They do antibacterial hand washing stuff. Right? You probably mightn't even do that yourself. I'm going to tell you why that might be the worst thing you can do. A virus is not even a living thing. You can't kill it. It's just some DNA code. It's miscellaneous strands of DNA code that you catch. It's got a protein code around it. And what it does is it sticks to cells in your body and it injects its own DNA code, wiping out the code that's in the cell, which basically tells the cell to do things that it's not supposed to do, that it wasn't designed to do. And then the virus uses that cell to multiply and replicate itself. It can't do that unless it's in a living cell. And then once it's created a whole bunch of itself, it explodes the cell. The cell literally explodes, bursting all these viruses into your body, which finds more cells, so it keeps doing. That's how it grows. But it's not a living thing. You are the living thing that it lives in. So what stops it and why does it allow it to happen? By the way, this process that's called where it attaches itself to the cell, it's called the lytic cycle. And there's also the lysogenic cycle. It's not as common as the lytic cycle. I know you don't really care about that or hear about it, but I can get into viruses in a whole nother video. But let's just want to get to the good stuff. Tell me what to take, right? What are my chances? What do I do? What do I not do? A virus is really not much different, the scary viruses, than the flu or herpes zoster, otherwise known as shingles. Everybody's got it. Almost everybody's got this stuff. HPV. Did you know over 90% of the world has the human papillomavirus? 90% of people have it. They're just not affected by it. It's not active. You got Epstein-Barr. Everybody's got most of these things already. You've already got E. coli, you already got salmonella. They are either dormant or they're active. And what determines whether they're dormant or active? Well, that's your making. That's what you choose to do with your life determines whether the virus is active or dormant. Because you're going to get exposed to everything that's out there. The odds are you're going to get exposed to the worst of the worst out there at some point in your life. The question is, are you able to handle it or not? So, what makes you susceptible to having bad things happen via a virus? Well, your immune system protects you from your virus. Well, what makes the immune system strong or weak? And this is the part that you don't want to hear. I'm sorry, but you want the truth. Here it is. What you eat, drink, smoke, how you feel about life, your happiness, your stress level, everything like that has to do with how strong your immune system is. What's the biggest feeding factor of pathogenic organisms in your body? Sugar is the biggest fuel. Glucose is what they thrive off. They thrive off sugar, high sugar sources. They fuel viruses with sugar water in petri dishes in the lab. That's what makes them grow. So your body is a petri dish. It's full of things that either feed or neutralize toxins and invaders. If you eat bread, pasta, sugar, bagels, donuts, cream sauce on everything, dairy, sugar, milkshakes, the crap, the food, processed food that's out there. If you eat that, if you smoke, if you drink, you are going to lower your immune system because you're going to have inflammation that is being fought. Your immune system's going to be busy. So if your immune system is distracted and busy and your soldiers are busy fighting and here comes a virus and it just waves at the immune system and goes, hey guys, I know you're busy. Just going to set up house here for a minute, okay? You're not going to have much of a resistance to it. So the people that get affected the most are the ones that have the weakest immune systems. Now, of course, people are going to say, well, just tell me what to take. And there are people out there who say zinc, selenium, vitamin D are good for you. That helps fight the virus. Yes, it's true. But if you continue eating hamburgers and milkshakes and beer and cigarettes and stuff, and you take some zinc or selenium or vitamin D, it's not going to cure you. It's not going to make you impenetrable to viruses. It's not going to heal you if you already have it. You have to stop fueling the fire. And I've said this so many times. But anyway, I'm going to get to something even more important. And that is, what is the thing that all these diseases that we're talking about, SARS, MERS, H5N1, coronavirus, what do they all have in common? What they all have in common is they are respiratory illnesses, severe respiratory illnesses. Your lungs is where this action takes place. That's what knocks you down. That's vital. And nobody's talking about this. All this death and action is happening in your lungs. What are the lungs for? Let's think about this. What do the lungs do? The lungs take oxygen from the air you breathe and puts it into your bloodstream so your body can function. Now, what does oxygen do? Now, many people think, oxygen makes you good. It makes you healthy. It makes you live. And it's something that's positive for you. Yes, it is. But also, oxygen kills. It's a two-edged sword. It does two things. Oxygen is an oxidizer. Duh, right? But what does that mean? An oxidant. Antioxidants are supposed to be good for you, and oxidants are bad. Well, an oxidizer, oxygen, what it does is oxygen breaks things down. It breaks them apart. It makes them crumble. It's what turns a nice, strong iron or steel pipe into rust, and then ultimately into powder. It breaks things down. And we need that for life to function. Oxygen actually breaks things down. So that's why viruses don't last long when they're just floating through the air. Oxygen is actually breaking down the outer protein coat. It's cracking it, exposing the DNA material inside, and then it starts deteriorating that. So a lot of times, by the time you get a virus in you, it's already started to decompose and crack and fall apart, and there's only bits and pieces of it, and it doesn't work anymore. That's what oxygen does. It actually is really good for protecting you from things like viruses and other things that are bad for you. So oxidants are not necessarily bad. You need that in order to exist. There's always a balance in life. So now I'm going to get to the part that nobody's talking about. What is it that the people that are getting sick and dying, what do they have in common? Not all of them, but what do a lot of them have in common? Their lungs are not strong. And it's not just the immune system, it's the lungs. What do a lot of people in Asia do? They smoke. They're all chain smoking like crazy. Another thing that people do, like there was this doctor that died. I don't know, but what do doctors do? They mess around with a lot of antibiotics. They prescribe antibiotics and they probably take it themselves. The worst thing you can do for a virus is to take an antibiotic because why? Because it knocks out your immune system. Your immune system is what you need to fight the virus. Antibiotics do not kill viruses. They might knock out some bacteria, but not viruses. And by the way, you need bacteria. That's another reason you should not take antibiotics, because you have good bacteria that fights for you, especially in your gut. You got 5 pounds of probiotic gut flora. Good bacteria in your gut that helps fight illnesses and disease. You also have, this is where the hand washing comes in, all kinds of bacteria on your skin, which is good for you. And this bacteria produces acids, which coat your skin. Acid is necessary to protect your skin because acids, if you drop something in acid, what happens? It sizzles and dissolves, right? Acid protects you from things that are out there floating in the air. So if you were to wash your skin, I mean, once in a while it's fine, but if you're an obsessive, extremely obsessive hand washing person, you're washing the protective coating off your hands. And not only that, if you have too much washing, your skin dries from too much moisture, from too much washing, which means you get cracks in your skin. And now the pathogens in the air can go right into the crack, right into your bloodstreams. That's why people who are burn victims, they die from skin infections, because their skin, the protective barrier is gone, and the slightest little bacteria can land on them and kill them. Your skin is a protective barrier with acids and with bacteria. So when people do antibiotic hand lotions, not only are you killing the bacteria that's trying to protect you, but you're also, that antibiotic stuff is going into your bloodstream and it's getting into your tissues and your liver and stuff like that, and it accumulates over time, and you're killing the good immune system in you with these antibiotics. It's not just killing what's on your hand, it's going in all of you. So people who hand wash a lot are actually doing a disservice to themselves by over hand washing. And the worst of all, the worst of all that you can do, by far, if you really want to get sick and die, is smoke. And this is where a lot of people are going to get unhappy, because they not only do they not get to eat their bread and their pasta and their sugar and their milk and stuff, but I'm telling them to stop smoking too. Oh my God. And I'm not just talking about cigarettes. Those of you who smoke, marijuana, glass pipes, things like that. You know that stuff that builds up inside that glass pipe? Several things. One is the carbon deposits from the combustion process. And the second one is the sticky resin that comes from the plant itself. What you see in that glass pipe is what's in your lungs, and that is coating your lungs. Your lungs are like spongy type material with all these millions of little holes that allows the oxygen to go into your bloodstream. But what you're basically doing by smoking anything, marijuana, cigarettes, anything, it's basically like you're painting a sticky, hard varnish coating over the inside of your lungs so air cannot get through. Kind of fitting the ambulance noises going in the background as I'm saying this. That's what happens! That could be you in that ambulance, because you are coating the inside of your lungs with this sticky resin, which allows the oxygen to not get into your bloodstream. That's why people get saggy, crepey skin, smokers especially. The collagen can't build, and you're basically starving your cells. It's not getting oxygen. Smokers are the highest risk. There are doctors out there who will not even touch you if you smoke. There are plastic surgeons. I've talked to some plastic surgeons who says, if they smoke, I will not even touch them, because when I sew them back together, the skin is so weak and fragile, it actually just rips apart. It's nothing holding it together. And they don't want to be responsible for that. There are natural healing doctors who say they won't even touch you because you won't get better. You cannot get better if you're smoking. Even the people that occasionally take a little hit of marijuana now and then, they say, oh, I don't do much. I just do a little bit here and there. Every time you do, you are coating the inside of your lung. You're depositing resin, carbon, and all kinds of crap inside your lungs. You're painting it with varnish. Every little bit. It's like a little dab of paint. Oh, just a little bit now and then. Well, you have one, just a little dab, a little dab, a little dab. And after a while, you've got a million little dabs coating the inside of your lungs. Whatever. I'm just saying those are the people that are at the highest risk for getting scary diseases that are out there. The coronavirus isn't something to be that scared of if you're healthy. It really isn't, because it's just another virus. There's so many of them out there. Like I said, the SARS virus, that's been out for a decade now. A lot of these deadly viruses that have been out there for 10 years, they've only killed 500 or 1,000 people. They're not wiping out the world's population. They're killing the sick and the weak, the ones who don't exercise. If you, do this. If you want to know what state your lungs are in, if you think you're that great, run up 4 flights of stairs real quick and see what you're like. Are you gasping for air at the end of that? Do a sprint. Do a 1,000-yard sprint as fast as you possibly can. HIIT. Run as fast as you can for 1,000 yards and then see how you feel. If you're gasping for air, your lungs are probably not doing that great. Oh, and those masks that people wear, you see them wearing those paper masks. They're useless. You know why? When you breathe in and out, it's not going to go through the mask. Where's it going to go? It's going to go in and out the sides, because that's the point of least resistance. It can easily go in the sides and out the sides. It's not going to spend the extra energy to go through the mask. You're still breathing in raw viruses with the mask, unless you literally tape it onto your face or have one of those, the ones that stick really hard on your face, those heavy-duty $300 rubber masks. If you're eating healthy stuff, you're not drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and eating bread and pasta and milk and sugar and all that crap that's going to weaken your immune system, then you're probably fine. Exercise. Get sunlight. You do need vitamin D. That's one of the best. I keep saying this. Vitamin D, these diseases, one of the things that they do is they cut off the vitamin D receptors in your body. So you cannot absorb vitamin D very well. Why do they do that? Sunlight helps you fight viruses. People say, well, I don't get sun because I might get wrinkles. I've been in the sun for 50 years. Do I look highly wrinkled? Well, what about that truck driver whose side of his face got all wrinkled on one side? Well, yeah, have you seen what truck drivers eat? They're not healthy. You need to have the nutrition that the healthy diet affords you, that you need, that I keep telling you to eat. Get the book, Heal Yourself 101. It's a free download. It tells you what to do and what not to do, how to cleanse yourself. I'm not getting anything out of this. I have nothing to gain other than making people healthy. I do not monetize my videos. There's nothing I'm selling on this video here. I don't care. I'm just trying to give you the information that you need to live. And people say, well, Marcus, you lecture too much. I don't like being lectured. I want you to have funny videos. Okay, all right, but I just thought I'd tell you how not to die. People, they just don't listen. They're not going to change their ways. They're going to keep eating the same foods. They're going to keep drinking and smoking and doing the things that they're addicted to. And then they say, what do I take? What do I take to get rid of this problem I just got? Well, you caused it. Look back for the last 20, 30 years of your life. What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you doing? That's what caused it. That's what allowed it to happen. You're going to be exposed to deadly viruses in your life multiple times. Can you survive it or not? And that's based on how you have established your body. How strong is it? The coronavirus is really nothing new in the world. It's nothing that hasn't been around already a million times throughout history. There's always been plagues and diseases, and it wipes out the sick ones, the ones who don't exercise, the ones who smoke, the ones who don't get enough sunlight, the ones who eat bad, the ones who are just not in peak form. So, that's it. Be healthy, and don't worry. Okay, see you in the next video.